All right, so security guides. Um, Not exactly everyone's idea of a page turner, are they?
No, not really. Especially when it's, Oracle CPQ we're talking about. It can get pretty dense.
Yeah, like trying to decipher some ancient scroll. But hey, that's why we're here, right? To break it down, make it digestible.
Exactly. We've gone through this CPQ security guide.pdf and pulled out the kind of the nuggets, the need to know stuff.
The good stuff, the stuff that'll actually help you keep your CPQ data, safe. So, before we dive into the nitty-gritty of security protocols and all that, quick recap. Oracle CPQ, what is it? Imagine you're a business, right? You've got all these products, different prices, complex configurations. It's a lot to manage.
It's like imagine herding cats, but the cats are like pricing models and product configurations.
Yeah. And Oracle CPQ, that's your kind of your super organized assistant that comes in and like whips it all into shape, streamlines that whole sales process, quoting, ordering, you name it.
Make sure everything's consistent, accurate, no more pricing surprises. Sales teams love it.
Okay, so foundation laid. Let's talk passwords. This guy does not mess around. Password 123, yeah, not gonna fly.
Nope. They are serious about strong passwords in this thing. 8 characters. Please, that's like child's play. We're talking uppercase, lowercase, numbers, those weird special characters, the whole 9 yards.
And it's not just about the password itself. This guide gives admins a crazy amount of control over, like, the whole password policy.
Oh yeah, you can set expiration dates, like how often people have to change their passwords. You can prevent them from reusing old passwords. You can even control how long an account gets locked out if someone's, over there just guessing.
So it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach, which is nice.
Not at all. It's all about like, tailoring it to your organization's specific risk tolerance, right? Some companies are dealing with super sensitive data, others maybe not so much.
Right. Okay, so we've got our Fort Knox passwords all set up. Now let's talk about this thing called BML. It stands for Big Machines Extensible Language. Essentially, it's a scripting language. And it lets you do some really cool customization within Oracle CPQ.
Think of it like this. You're remodeling your house.
Right.
And BML, that's like having the blueprints and the tools to really make it your own.
Okay, I like that. So you're saying with BML, you're not just stuck with the kind of the default CPQ setup. You can really tweak it to match your specific business processes, workflows, all of that.
Exactly. It's powerful stuff. But, and this is the big but, the guide makes it very clear. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds a little bit double-edged sword there. Powerful, but potentially dangerous if not used correctly.
Right. And they give a good example in the guide. Input sanitization. So let's say you've got a form on your website, right?
Mm.
Customers can enter information.
Kind of like a contact form or something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, imagine a malicious user, right? They're not just going to type in their name and email. They might try to inject some malicious code into that form,
Right.
hoping to, exploit a vulnerability in your system.
Oh, I see. So it's like they're trying to sneak something nasty in with the regular information.
Exactly. And that's where input sanitization comes in. It's like a filter, right? It cleans that data before it even gets processed by your system, strips out any potentially harmful code.
Like a digital bouncer at a club, only letting the good stuff in.
Exactly. And speaking of keeping things clean, let's talk about content security policy, CSP.
Okay, CSP. I've definitely seen that acronym thrown around. It's like every other day there's news about some website getting hacked or whatever. So how does CSP fit into all of this?
So remember those sketchy websites that try to load a million pop-ups and weird scripts?
Oh yeah, those are the worst.
Right. CSP is like your website's way of saying, nope, not today. It's basically a set of rules that you define that dictate what content your website is allowed to load.
So it's kind of like you're setting boundaries, right?
Yeah, like a digital fence around your website. If a script or some content is trying to load from a source that you haven't specifically allowed, CSP is going to block it.
Okay, so we're not just talking about annoying pop-ups here. We're talking about like preventing serious security breaches.
That's exactly it. And the guide, it gets really specific about some of the best practices here, like avoiding inline scripts, which are easier to tamper with, and using something called sub-resource integrity.
Sub-resource integrity. That sounds intense.
It's simpler than it sounds, I promise. You know how websites often load resources like images and scripts from different servers, right? Sub-resource integrity is like checking those deliveries against a detailed packing slip to make sure they haven't been tampered with in transit.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
it's like verifying that what you're getting is actually what you ordered and not some, shady substitute.
exactly. Now, I know some folks out there, They like to get a little creative, right? They want to customize their CPQ experience, add their own little flair.
Yeah, I can see the appeal. You want to make it your own, right?
Absolutely. And some people do this by adding their own JavaScript or CSS, custom code.
But I have a feeling the guide might not be totally on board with that approach.
You're picking up what I'm putting down. It's not that it's forbidden, but the guide definitely throws up some red flags.
Replies like what?
Well, you're introducing the potential for conflicts, right? Your custom code might not play nicely with future updates or even just existing features.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's the whole maintenance headache. If something breaks, well, guess who's on the hook for fixing it?
Not the Oracle CPQ support team, I'm guessing?
Exactly. So, the guide's recommendation. If you need to customize, stick to the CPQ.js APIs.
CPQ.js APIs. Now, those sound a little more my speed.
They are the officially supported way to tweak and enhance your CPQ experience. So you get the customization you want, but without straying too far from the safe path.
Right, right. Stay within the guardrails. Okay, so even if I don't fully understand what a CPQ.js API is, I think the takeaway is there's a right way and a, let's say, adventurous way to customize your CPQ.
Exactly.
And the guide is all about sticking to the right way.
100%.
Okay, good to know. Now, this next security feature kind of reminds me of those, like, exclusive clubs, you know?
Yeah.
It's all about restricting access by IP range.
Oh, yeah, it does have that VIP feel, doesn't it? This
Yeah.
is actually a new feature. It came out with the 23B release.
Okay, so it's pretty cutting edge. So how does it work?
Basically, you get to control who can access your CPQ environment based on their IP address. So you could say, for example, only people on our company network can access this, or maybe only people using this specific VPN.
So it's like setting up a digital guest list. If you're not on the list, you're not getting in.
You got it. And the guide stresses the importance of, like, really getting those IP ranges right. You don't want to accidentally lock out legitimate users.
Right, right. That would be awkward. Sorry, you're not authorized to view this pricing information, even though you work here.
Exactly. And then there's the whole redirect thing. What happens if someone tries to access your CPQ from an IP that's not on the list?
Yeah, do they just see like a blank screen? What happens?
You can actually customize that. You can redirect them to, like, your company's homepage, maybe a specific access denied page, whatever makes sense for your organization.
Sorry, you can't come to this party, but here's a flyer for our next webinar.
Exactly. But yeah, it's all about setting those digital boundaries. And I think this feature really speaks to a larger trend in security, which is this move towards, like, really granular control.
Granular in the sense that you can get really, really specific about who has access to what.
Exactly. Organizations are really craving that level of control over their systems and their data. It's not just about, having a lock on the front door anymore. It's about having a security system that can recognize individual faces and grant or deny access accordingly.
Yeah, I like that analogy. Okay, so we've got our Fort Knox passwords, our spam filters for code, our website bouncers, and now our digital guest list. What else is there to cover in this security guide? So we've got our Fort Knox passwords, our spam filters for code, our website bouncers, and now our digital guest list. What else is there to cover in this security guide?
Well, we've talked about who can get in, but now let's talk about what they can do once they're inside, right? Because security, it's not just about guarding the front door. It's about making sure that everyone has the right level of access to do their job and no more.
Right, because giving everyone full access, that's like giving everyone a master key to every room in the house. Not exactly the best security strategy.
Exactly. And that's where Oracle CPQ really shines with its granular security controls. Let's talk about workflows and approvals. These are key for controlling what actions users can take at different stages of the CPQ journey, right? From that initial quote all the way to a closed deal.
Okay, so workflows, are we talking about like those automated processes that move a deal through different stages, like from quote to approval to order?
You got it. And the great thing is, each stage of that workflow, you can set specific security rules around it. Like, who can see the data at that stage? Who can modify it? Who needs to give the thumbs up before it moves to the next step?
Ah, so you're building in those checks and balances right into the process itself. I like that. And what about approvals? How do they fit into this whole security picture?
So approvals, they're not just a formality in Oracle CPQ. The guide makes it clear that approvers, they have a huge responsibility to really scrutinize the data
Yeah.
before they give that final stamp of approval.
So it's not just a, yep, looks good to me kind of situation. They're really looking for any potential issues.
Exactly. It's like, imagine you're about to hit send on a really important email, right? You're going to take a second to double check who it's going to. Make sure you haven't attached the wrong file.
Oh yeah, I've definitely been there. You don't want to accidentally send the funny cat meme to your boss.
Right. Approvals are like that final check to make sure everything's accurate, complete, and, on brand before it goes out the door.
It's like having a second set of eyes on everything. Okay, so workflows and approvals, those are both super important for managing the flow of data and actions within CPQ. What about those secure attributes you mentioned earlier? Those sounded pretty interesting, like a safe within a safe.
Yeah, secure attributes, those are really cool. Think of them as like the lockbox inside your already secure system. You use these to store those extra sensitive pieces of data.
Okay, so what kind of data are we talking about here? Give me some examples.
We're talking about things like passwords to external systems, API tokens, secret keys, maybe encryption keys, anything you really, really don't want just floating around in plain text.
Right, because even if someone managed to get past your main defenses, they still wouldn't be able to access that super secret stuff.
Exactly. It's like that extra layer of protection. And the guide calls out how critical this is, especially when you're dealing with integrations with other systems. You're often passing sensitive credentials back and forth, so you got to keep them under lock and key.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've talked about workflows for guiding the process, secure attributes for those extra sensitive details. Anything else we need to know about keeping our CPQ data safe?
Well, let's talk about data tables.
Data tables. Okay, now we're getting to the really exciting stuff. Said no one ever.
I know. Data tables, they don't exactly scream thrilling security feature, but trust me on this one. They're actually super important from a security standpoint.
Okay, I'm listening. Convince me.
Think about it. Your data tables, they often house a gold mine of sensitive information.
Right.
We're talking customer lists, pricing details, product specifications, internal notes. You don't want that stuff falling into the wrong hands.
Right, that makes sense. So how does Oracle CPQ help us protect all that data that's living in those spreadsheets?
One of the key features they highlight is something called secure columns. It's a way to encrypt specific columns within your data tables. Think of it like putting those super secret columns in a separate locked room within your data center.
Okay, so even if someone got past your main security into the data center, they still wouldn't have access to those specific locked rooms.
Exactly. It's all about layers, right? The more layers of protection you have in place, the harder it is for someone with bad intentions to compromise your data. And secure columns, those are a fantastic tool for adding that extra layer of security around your most critical data points.
So those secure columns, they sound like a pretty solid way to lock down those important data points within the data tables. But what about when you're dealing with the really, really sensitive stuff?
Right.
Like I'm thinking credit card numbers, that kind of thing. Would you use secure columns for that too? Or is that like a whole other level of security?
Yeah, you're hitting on a really important point. And the guide actually, it kind of hints at this, that there are limits, right?
Okay, so there are some things that even secure columns aren't quite right for.
Exactly. Secure columns, they're great. But at the end of the day, they're still storing that data, even if it's encrypted, within your Oracle CPQ environment.
Right, right. So for something like credit card numbers, I mean, that's like the holy grail for hackers, right? You really don't want to be messing around with that.
Exactly. You want to bring in the big guns for that kind of data. So we're talking about things like tokenization.
Tokenization, okay. So instead of storing the actual credit card number, you're storing like a random string of characters that represents that number, but it's not the actual number itself.
Exactly. So even if someone were to somehow get their hands on that token, it's useless to them without the key to decrypt it.
Ah, okay. So it's like having a treasure map that leads to a bank vault, but if you don't have the combination to the vault, the map's not much good, right?
Precisely. And then, of course, there's always the option of just not storing that super sensitive data in Oracle CPQ at all.
Oh, interesting. So keep it completely separate in a whole other system that's specifically designed for that kind of high security data storage.
Exactly. It's all about assessing the risk, right? And choosing the security measures that are appropriate for the sensitivity of the data. You don't want to, bring a tank to a knife fight, but you also don't want to show up with a pool noodle when things get serious.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Choose the right tool for the job. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Oracle CPQ security here, what's the key takeaway you hope listeners walk away with?
I think the biggest thing is Oracle CPQ, it gives you so many options,
Right.
like so many tools to really customize your security. But that's also kind of the catch, right?
Because with great power comes great responsibility.
There you go. It's not
Yeah.
enough to just turn on all the features and hope for the best. You really need to think strategically about your organization's specific needs, your risk tolerance, and then configure everything accordingly.
Right. It's about finding that balance,
Bye-bye.
right? You want to be secure, but you don't want to make it so complex that no one can actually use the system.
100%. And that brings up another really important point, which is the human element.
Ah, yes. The human element. Because even with the best technology in the world, things can still go wrong if people aren't careful.
Exactly. I mean, you can have the strongest passwords, the most sophisticated encryption, but if someone clicks on a phishing link or accidentally leaves their laptop at the coffee shop,
Game over.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's crucial that companies, they don't just focus on the technical stuff, but they also prioritize security awareness training for their employees.
Right, because at the end of the day, your security is only as strong as your weakest link.
Exactly. You got to train people on how to spot phishing scams, how to create strong passwords, how to report suspicious activity, all of that.
Well said. Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise.
It was my pleasure. Always happy to talk security, even if it's about something as seemingly dry as Oracle CPQ.
Hey, you made it interesting. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We hope you learned a thing or two about keeping your CPQ data safe. Until next time, stay curious.